I got burnt out at my first job out of college, and not only did it suck the life out of me, but it made me question my entire existence. So after 2 draining years, instead of getting a new job, I decided to do something a little different. I decided to just do nothing at all. I took a break, a mini retirement of sorts. Today, I'm going to be telling you the story of the time I quit my job without a job lined up, cold turkey, and how I learned that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is nothing at all. I worked for Amazon from 2018 to 2020 as a software engineer. Between sleepless nights on call, toxic managers, and a pretty fucking savage culture, I was starting to go batshit crazy. I made this whole video about what it's like to work for Amazon if you want to go check that out. But TLDR, it fucking sucked, okay? I can't sugarcoat that. I hated the work I was doing. I was being treated like garbage, and it just seemed like I never really got a moment to breathe. So even as I started to look for opportunities outside the company, looking to make that very fulfilling career transition, looking for something more rewarding, like being a software engineer at a slightly smaller company rather than a bigger company. Oh, I know, on to bigger and better things, right? I was so overwhelmed and felt underwater all the time that I never really felt like I was ever making a good decision about my future and my career. Turns out if you're going to be making decisions that are going to impact the rest of your life, maybe you should get some sleep, dude, okay? To my surprise, there was plenty of other Amazonians who were also going fucking insane. They would quit on short notice and just kind of go. You would ask them at stand-up, like, yo, what are you gonna do next? And they're just like, I don't know, dude. I'm probably gonna get on a plane somewhere and not be here, because this place just kind of made me question my whole livelihood, and I am not even sure why I'm alive. Anywhere that's not here would be great. Like, even out on the sidewalk, like, if I had to stay outside on the sidewalk for the rest of my life, like, I think I'd be okay with that. Like, even if I was an ant and I had 30 more seconds to live before someone stepped on me, I would rather get stepped on as an ant than stepped on by my manager at Amazon on a daily basis. Anything but this, my guy. And you see these people and you're kind of just like, being an ant on the sidewalk, getting stepped on by someone that isn't my manager at Amazon? This guy's onto something. Being an ant on the sidewalk who will live for maybe 2 days before getting stepped on by some random human is starting to sound like a higher life form than a dude working for Amazon. That's crazy, dude. And I'm like, okay, I need to get out of here. I don't know when, but I'm gonna leave, all right? Now hear me out. What if I was not trying to constantly stroke my pride by being constantly productive? What if I just didn't produce or stroke? Okay, a guy's gotta stroke it sometimes, but what if I just didn't produce? But still, it was a pretty scary thing to consider. I contemplated it for months, like doing nothing, living off of over a year's worth of income and savings, and taking a break for my mental health, having rich parents, living at my parents' house, clearly having a background for creative and soft skills and not getting to use them at my dead-end software engineering job, where I was otherwise toiling away at the good old clickety-clackety at some Java code that no one understands, getting verbally spanked in the ass by my Indian boss every day, and just fucking sitting there like, shut up! Yes, master. Such a scary concept. I cannot fathom making such a drastic, risky decision. But on top of my own fears, there was a lot of external factors as well. Everyone says it's easier to get a job when you have a job. How am I going to explain to interviewers that I was taking a break for my mental health? My future employer thinks taking a break is a red flag. Some financial services company that's 60 years old that I desperately want to work for some reason because I have no sense of self-worth. But not just that. What about the Indian parents? How could I, the son of 2 Indian doctors, just making ends meet, be such a disgrace not only to them, but the entire Indian community of Metro Detroit? All my parents' friends who are, well, not really their friends. All their friends whose dream in life is for everyone's kid to not only work a miserable tech job at a big name company, but also to vegetate on their parents' couch forever, drinking chai and getting fat. How could I possibly do this? Have I no shame? Okay, but there was clearly a lot to consider here, and it made it really hard to come to the decision on whether quitting cold turkey was right for me. But eventually, I reached a breaking point. After getting scolded enough by my evil Infosys alum Indian boss, who had very particular opinions on very important things, mind you, such as when tickets get closed, how many lines of code I was pushing out per month, I just started to hate myself. And one day, I cried at my desk right when I logged in for work. And I'm thinking, is this all I'm good for? Like, this might be all I'm good for. All I'm good for is typing into a code editor and closing tickets, like, really fast. Maybe this is it. Maybe I'll never make it out of this hellscape that I once thought was the dream. And in that moment, some sort of fight or flight response kicked in. I was like, I need to get out. I need to run far away from here, bro. Holy shit. I don't know what I want to do this year, next year, 5 years from now. I don't even know what I want to do tomorrow. All I know is, right now, I cannot be here. And so, I quit. Later that day, I finally put in my 2 weeks' notice to resign from Amazon after nearly 2 years of service. And in that moment, I felt simultaneously relieved and excited, but also fucking terrified, dude. Like, I don't know if you remember peak 2020, but the job market was not good. How was I going to find a new job? But I kept reminding myself, we can't think about jobs right now. We just need to think about like 1 month, 2 months. Let's just, for now, not be here. Let's just do nothing. Let's just vibe. Like, I can do that now. I can just vibe. I had no clue what I was doing, and that was okay. 1 week after my last day at Amazon, I hopped on a plane to Las Vegas. If I was going to take such a big gamble on myself, I needed to learn from the best gamblers in the world by spending my entire emergency fund on slot machines in Vegas. Just kidding. I actually just flew into Vegas so I could drive around a bunch of national parks and hang out in nature for a week. Because blowing all your money at a casino is actually really fucking stupid and you should never do that. Anyway, road trip. When I landed in Vegas, I rented a car and made my way to my first destination, St. George, Utah. The whole ride there, I just remember feeling free. I didn't have a super planned itinerary. I just had the hotels I was gonna stay at and the parks I was gonna go to and the hikes I was gonna do on each day and the time I was gonna go and... Okay, actually I had a pretty involved itinerary and I should probably talk about this in therapy, but it was scary being alone and kind of just doing this whole thing on my own. You know, what if I got hurt? What if I got in a car accident? What if I got hate crimed in this random ass town in Utah? But all I knew was I was free. I felt like I was on another planet, dude. Like, oh, literally and figuratively. Like the scenery was unreal. After settling into my hotel the first night, I spent my first day exploring Zion National Park. And like I said, I had a long list of hikes I wanted to get through, so I had a kind of tight schedule. But Zion was absolutely amazing and everyone must go, okay? It's so worth it. So day one, overall a success. But something was definitely off. I wasn't really feeling as relaxed as I wanted to on this epic trip. A trip that was coming at a pretty monumental, pivotal moment in my life. It felt like I was at a turning point, but I hadn't turned the corner yet, so to speak. And so on my second day, I had planned another day packed with activities. This hike, that lake, that overpriced fucking parking. Like, okay, hold on. Nothing is more of a vibe killer than going to one of the most renowned national parks in the world and having to spend 30 minutes looking for parking. Like, I love nature and I really want the pictures of these mountains on my phone, but this is not relaxing. This is the fucking rat race, okay? I was starting to feel like I was back in the fucking rat race, and I was trying to get out of that shit, man. Fuck. I left Amazon where I was competing with Indian dads and Asian dads for the next best thing, and here I am at Zion National Park in the parking lot competing with Indian and Asian dads for the next best thing. A fucking parking spot. What the fuck? But anyway, midway through day 2, I was getting a little fed up, and I also felt like there was so much in the surrounding area in Utah that I could probably go explore for free and alone. So I literally just opened Google Maps, and I realized there is so much to do in the surrounding area. You know, there's these things we like to go to called national parks, but it turns out near a lot of national parks, there's something a lot easier to access called a state park. There was so many state parks, and I just said, let's go to one. Hey, look, there's a big body of water. Let's go to that one. I want to go to the water. So I said, fuck it, let's go. So around lunchtime, I just decided to pack my things and head over to Sand Hollow State Park in Utah and just have my lunch on the water. It sounds really simple, but something about this moment, having lunch on the water, completely on a whim, really ignited a feeling I hadn't felt in a long time, or maybe ever. Again, I had no clue what I was doing, and that was okay. Just kinda abandoning the plan, the to-do list, just saying, fuck it. I see the water, I want to go chill by the water. And I realized this was really something I hadn't put into practice ever. Really deep stuff, man. Like, wow. Sometimes competing for that big dumb thing that everyone else is competing for will never match up to the satisfaction of walking away from that big thing and just going to that little lake nearby that you totally missed on the way. Yeah, that's a metaphor for, hey, maybe every now and then just try to fucking go with the flow and maybe trust your gut, dude. Anyway, lunch, success. After lunch, riding off of the high of discovering nature on Google Maps instead of all trails, I decided to keep going. I found another awesome park right by my hotel. The pictures looked good, no crazy parking, sold. By the way, can you tell I hate competing for parking? But this one hit different, because on this excursion, there was literally nobody else. Not a single soul. Just me and some red rock. Having learned 2 hours ago that I can actually just do whatever I want with my life and not have to listen to my parents or a potential employer or some kid's parents that I see once a year at some random dinner in the suburbs who for some reason feels a need to give me unsolicited, severely outdated career advice, I decided to just wander. I didn't look at my phone and I just went. I just looked around. I found a cool looking rock and then I went to the cool rock, and if I liked it, I posted up at it for a bit, and then I'd keep looking, and then I'd find another cool rock, and then I'd go to that rock. Rinse and repeat, kinda like a for loop. Anyway, I finally found a rock I really liked, and I said, I'm just gonna sit here. And as I sat on this rock, overlooking the beautiful town of St. George, Utah, I realized I was not only taking my first real break on this trip, but also the first real break of my life. My whole adolescence just kind of flashed before my eyes. From day one of high school, I felt like this new side of me just switched on. A side of me that was meticulous about taking notes, studying for tests, getting good grades, being in every extracurricular known to man. I realized from that point on, the beginning of high school, I kind of just switched into grind mode. And then I went from the grind of high school to the grind of college, the grind to get a really good job. And then I went from the college grind to the job grind, which is just, it's just a never-ending grind that doesn't really go anywhere. The grind that pretty much has no end in sight until now, in this moment of reprieve. No longer was I stressed about studying for ACTs or cracking the fucking coding interview. I finally had a moment to pause. I finally got to look back on 10 years of my life. 10 years of doing the things that are best for my future. 10 years of doing things that'll give me stability. 10 years of doing the things that I should be doing. And I finally got a moment, and in this moment, I finally had the chance to ask myself, are these even things that I want to be doing? Dude, look, I get that in life. There's always going to be boring, less sexy things that you have to do to get where you want to go. But that's the problem here, dude. Like, I don't like where I'm going. I'm not going somewhere that I want to go. Like, senior software engineer, staff software engineer, even worse yet, software engineering manager? Like, you mean to tell me that this job that has drained me of my ability to feel emotions and all of my interpersonal skills, where I get yelled at by an Indian man every single day, will maybe one day reward me with getting yelled at by multiple Indian men multiple times a day? The destination sucked and the journey sucked. All of it fucking sucked. I knew in that moment that something needed to change. I didn't know exactly what that would be. All I knew was I wanted to be excited about how I was spending my time. I wanted to be excited to live. I wanted to be excited about going somewhere that I wanted to go. And I wanted to be invested in the journey there. Doing something that I care about so deeply that I am willing to do the slightly more sucky parts, since I'd be doing something that's more connected with my purpose, whatever that may be. Again, at the time, I didn't know what that was. And no, quitting a job and taking a trip through the mountains didn't really hand me a more fulfilling career, but it did give me an opportunity to reevaluate. Something about being out here in total silence, in isolation, really let my brain heal from a lot of wounds that developed over the years, from working too hard to being overly critical of myself and taking advice from people that I should not be taking advice from. This experience helped me clear the brain fog that accumulated from all those experiences, and it gave me the opportunity to properly start fresh. Meandering through the mountains with no plan, just kinda seeing what I liked and didn't like, and iterating from there, seemed like a much better way of living life. Regularly checking in with myself, asking myself the tough questions. Am I enjoying what I'm doing right now? Is it utilizing my superpowers? Is this a mission I'm excited about? Do I enjoy the less sexy parts? Is this something I want to spend every day improving? Again, I had no clue what I was doing. And that was okay. I knew realistically I was probably going to go to some job after this that would have some pros and some cons. A decision that, after taking time to heal and reflect, would have a foundation of full awareness to know if this job is the right one for me or not. Sometimes when we're on the job hunt and we're currently working at a job, you don't realize how much your current job is hijacking your thoughts. I felt like Amazon was really hijacking my thoughts as far as what my ideal career path could look like, what kinds of job titles I could work, how much I deserve to be paid, etc. Like, when you spend enough time in a company, especially one with a really strong culture, you could very well be getting brainwashed. So obviously when you quit a job, you're losing out on a paycheck, you're losing out on stability, you're losing out on predictability, but when it comes to making your next move, you are affording yourself the freedom of thought. The freedom to kind of just think about things from a fresh slate. Like, okay, if this current employer wasn't in the picture, like, what do I actually want? It's not about what my manager wants me to do next quarter. It's not about what the company's goals are. Like, what is important to me and not the fucking shareholders, okay? This is by far the number one reason I recommend quitting your job, is just having the mental freedom. Quitting your job without a backup plan. Just take time to fucking sit there and ask yourself what you want. It's a lot easier to do when you don't have some middle manager breathing down your neck every day. Another thing people often talk about when it comes to quitting a job is this perception of stability. In my time in Utah, and really the whole time I was not working, I started to realize that this whole thing about stability is really just a fallacy. When you take a break from being on a W-2, getting a regular paycheck, like, okay, yes, you don't have the certainty of paychecks coming in every 2 weeks, which can be stressful for a lot of people. But as long as you have some way to fund your expenses, which I recommend through a strong emergency fund, for some people it's their parents, whatever. As long as you have a way to fund yourself, the only thing different about a steady paycheck and being self-funded and living off of savings is your ability to focus on your happiness now versus some later date. Not later, not some other place, now. When you are not expecting a paycheck to come in infinitely, it forces you to think very short term about what you want right now. And there may not be a better forcing function to get yourself thinking about what you want out of life than not having a paycheck. Anyway, I ended that day staring off into the sunset, continuing to heal, starting to wonder what the future held. Was I going back to school? Was I going to get a new job? I didn't really know, but all I knew was I was going to double down and stick to my guns on prioritizing my own needs. I realized that this was something I had never done in my life. Just prioritize my own needs and what I want now. Not somebody else's needs, not some uncle or auntie's needs, not my parents' needs, my fucking needs, and nobody else's. Again, I had no clue what I was doing. And that was okay. And also, another really important thing that I learned about myself on that trip is that maybe I'm not nearly as outdoorsy as I once thought I was. Like, I'm sorry, but dude, the Grand Canyon, overrated as fuck. After going to all these national parks, by the time I got to the Grand Canyon, I'm like, bruh, ain't no way. Like, 5 days, that's about my tolerance for a hiking trip, okay? By the time I got to the Grand Canyon, I'm like, I don't know, I had 2 days planned at the Grand Canyon to go hiking down that fucking thing. After the state parks and the fucking, journey to Nirvana and Utah and all that stuff, I was just like, fuck this, dude. I just drove over to Sedona and golfed and went on hikes that were like literally 5 minutes long. Oh. Sedona, Arizona, ideal vacation spot. 10 out of 10 recommend. Anyway, if you're watching this, maybe you're considering quitting your job without a backup plan. And if you are grappling with this decision, there obviously are a few things you want to look into. 1, how much money do you have saved up? Do you have the experience to go get a new job? The current job market conditions, and what your actual goal is with quitting your job. And I can't stress the importance of that last one enough. If all you plan to do with your time off is dick around and fap all day, then maybe give it some more thought. Okay, one of the best things about not being tied to a corporate job is doing exactly what you want. So if you have that luxury, make the most of it and be intentional with it. Do you want to travel? Do you want to pick up new skills? Or maybe you don't know yet, and that's fine. But high level, it is good to maybe set some intentions going into it. My personal goal was to heal, spend more time with my family, learn new skills, and just reflect on what I wanted to do next. And I did that. I took some courses, I lived with my parents, I took a job at a startup, broke into content creation. It was a very special, fruitful time that absolutely altered the course of my life. Anyway, I ended up taking 2 months off, and after that I took another break about a year later for about 6 weeks, and right now I'm on my longest break ever, which is 5 months, and I'm not really taking a break. I'm going all in on content creation, which is super exciting, and yeah, not working for the man is like really fun. Don't get me wrong though, after the first break I spent 4 years working in startups, which come with their own, arguably in some ways worse set of demons. And then I started working for myself, which I'm doing right now, which is simultaneously the most rewarding and the most anxiety-inducing, terrifying thing I've ever done. But man, I would not trade it for the world. Quitting my first job and taking a break would not have led to all these other jobs along the way, where I had a lot of fun and made a lot of great friends and made so many great memories and picked up all these amazing skills. It also allowed me to move to a new city, which opened up all kinds of other doors and introduced me to other kinds of people. And all of this stuff kind of encouraged me to, like, none of that would have happened if I didn't take the first leap, which is not nearly as scary as it sounds. All of this kind of snowballed to get me where I am today, 4 years later, where I have never felt more fulfilled and free in my entire life, dude. It's amazing. So you might be wondering, Varun, what is the plan now? Well, right now it's pumping out videos for you, because that shit gets me going. But what's it gonna be next year? I don't know. 6 months from now? I don't fucking know. Next week? Fuck if I know. Again, I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. And that is okay.